Hello everyone, this is Marcel. Welcome to my channel. Been gone for a little while, but now I'm back. Today I'm going to be discussing dating college women. You see, I hear it passed around frequently, even recently for that matter, that to hook up with college girls is pretty easy. Well, I'm going to give some points on why I disagree with that, at least from a big picture perspective. I will break down the mindset as to why women go to college, at least a great deal of them, in the first place, and go over some of my own personal experiences dealing with the college scene. So lately, meaning the last year and a half, I've been working really hard at ghosting while I've been in class. I dress down, I don't approach people, specifically women, I don't talk to anyone, I just basically sit down, do my homework, and leave. Lately, however, that is becoming more difficult. I've been spending about 4 days a week at the gym and I'm starting to see results from it, meaning my physique. It's causing some unusual behavior. I've got heavy-set, low-grade women, like 3s and below, that are suddenly acting really hostile towards me. And I don't know if that's sort of their approach when it comes to good-looking males, even a snake like myself, or if it's something deeper than that, but it's happening often enough that I'm noticing it. It's too early to call it yet. It might have nothing to do with me. Meanwhile, the good-looking girls are being nicer to me, but they just keep asking for shit. My taking the time to improve myself somehow means I'm supposed to give them more attention. Either way you look at it, they're basically just a distraction. So why are a lot of them even there in the first place? Part of using the technique of ghosting, basically not socializing or minimizing it and dressing in such a way that you don't get noticed, is you wind up being sort of a fly on the wall. You hear a lot of stuff that you don't necessarily want or need to. By appearing the way that I did, I kind of pulled myself out of the dating pool. For the longest time, women would act like I wasn't even there. That in of itself is kind of telling about their motives. Perfect example, I had this 19-year-old girl sitting right in front of me in a math class, and she's talking to this kind of a jock-looking guy to my left, directly in front of me, about how she's planning on going out and getting laid over the weekend and getting laid over the summer and all this stuff she's got going on. And the guy bluntly looks at her and says, well, hey, we should hang out. And she looks at him and says, oh yeah, sure, I know you're a little older, but I don't care about age or anything. As long as he's not really old, like 26. All right, you guys want to guess at how old I was when she said that? For women, and that's the vast majority of them, college is a social experience. It's an opportunity to network, develop personal skills, and reach out to other people that they will eventually call on as they're developing their careers later on in life. It has far less to do with developing technical skills like their male counterparts, which is why they pick things like gender studies and basket weaving. That is not accounting for societal pressures like herding all of the women they can into STEM fields to do some kind of an artificial balancing of the genders, quotas, as it were. If you take away all of the incentives, you see that the classes they choose are extremely different. Having said that, if you go up and ask them what they want to do with the rest of their lives, most of them will tell you, have a family, find a good husband, find a good boyfriend. The ones that don't mention it have either already acquired said boyfriend, or they are looking at something that's going to lead them towards one. Thing is, with these guys cruising around these colleges hoping to get laid, they're not realizing that these women are out casting bait, hoping to catch themselves a boyfriend or a husband. Honestly, from the female's perspective, it's a darn good time to do it too, because a guy that's got a career ahead of him in some kind of STEM field, got a good degree, maybe a master's or something, would be an excellent catch. I wouldn't be surprised if a great deal of them didn't plan on finishing the degree in the first place. They just went there to meet men. I've had a number of them practically admit that, but keep in mind I wasn't really in their dating pool. They probably saw no harm in telling me, but it was surprisingly predatory, to the extent of tricking guys to getting them pregnant. Not just students either. Women that happen to work nearby or even just be wandering the campus. Interesting to picture how people would respond if it were the other way around. A guy would be walking around campus just randomly talking to girls there. Probably wouldn't go over too well. So I suppose the first warning I would put about colleges is that they're prime hunting grounds for women. Something else that I've noticed is a great deal of them aren't even citizens. A lot of them come from other countries on some kind of visas, or they'll come over and the college will subsidize their loans. They'll give them free tuition. and get them in there to try and seem inclusive, like they're being diverse. So they're already getting the benefits of gender quotas. They come over, they hook up, get pregnant, and then, oh gosh darn it, I guess now I'm a citizen because I'm pregnant here. Now, I don't think that that happens a lot. Honestly, they seem to be better students than Americans, but it is still something to keep in mind. Coming out of college or just starting college is exactly when a woman will want to nest build. That's when they're coming into their prime. Another thing to be cautious about is the age difference. Now, everybody knows that women are front-loaded into college. It's easier for them to get in, and I don't necessarily agree with this concept that they mature quicker, but it's believed widely enough that they will generally get into college sooner. Considering college comes directly after high school for a lot of people, there's an amazing number of women in college that are under 18. I have met dozens of them, none of whom even looked that young. Some of them had tattoos and smoked and drove, just acted like average women. You would have never guessed it. And the only difference between whether or not she warns a guy is really if he's attractive or not. There is absolutely no risk of repercussions to an underage woman hooking up with an older guy in his 20s or something. At least not from her perspective. So the only time they're going to respectfully say, hey, just to let you know, I'm under 18, is when they're not interested. I met several of them on a camp out that had basically forged documents saying that they were over 18, and they had their IDs, they were not 18, so that they could go out on this camp out that involved like hotel stays around older men that they would not have been allowed to go on if they had been honest. So even hooking up with a girl at a party where people are drinking, who is smoking and has tattoos, doesn't guarantee shit. It's Russian roulette. Then finally, and I would call this probably the biggest reason to avoid colleges, is that they are ground zero for all of the feminist propaganda that's getting pumped out into society. They are social cesspools. I went into my current college with a degree from a small community college, so I got exempted from some of the stuff that these freshmen have to take coming in. But one of the first classes they get is don't argue with the college. We know everything. Don't argue with your instructors. Followed by, hey, this is sexual violence. This is what you should be offended by. This is what inclusivity is. Blah, blah, blah. They get programmed from the minute they walk in the door. There are some colleges, notably the larger ones, that will require students to live on campus for the first year or two while they're going to that school. They're practically separating them from their families while they're getting indoctrinated. I'm waiting for the day, and I'm putting it off, but it's going to happen eventually, where I'm going to be required to take a feminist class in order to get my degrees. It's going to happen, and I know it's not going to go over well. So the takeaway from all of that is that in an environment where students, specifically women, are being taught that men are dangerous and everything they do is assault, it's not worth it to even interact with them, to be around them. That is when the training is freshest in their mind. Now, maybe after a while they'll realize, through life, through experiences, even just after a year or two, that that's total bullshit. And none of it's true, at least 99% of it, but I don't want to be the first guy they have an experience with right after having a class like that. Anybody remember those stranger danger classes that they gave back in middle school years ago? Am I dating myself here? It'd be the equivalent of walking into a school wearing a trench coat and hat right after one of those classes was taught. All in all, education is important. Now, when a woman gets a boyfriend and they're doing homework together and he's helping her with all her stuff and paying her bills and buying her food and doing all this shit for her, he is helping her get her education, and likely at the cost of his own because of the distraction, the time, the energy that it takes. Men really shouldn't play into their hands, play that game their way. After she uses up his resources and time and he has to flunk out, she's just going to dump him and move on to another guy that didn't. So from the guy's perspective, it's pointless for a quick hookup and dangerous, and pointless in the sense of a long-term relationship. Doesn't matter how he looks at it. It just stacks up as one more reason to avoid the interaction completely and go your own way. Well, that's about all I have to say on that subject for now. If there's anything I missed or something else you'd want me to cover, put it down below. Whether you agree, disagree, if you want to hear more content like mine, like, subscribe, share, and until next time, this has been Marcel.